been called the toughest one-day off-road race on the planet. Since its birth in 2007, King of the Hammers has grown from a single race with 12 competitors to a week-long celebration of off-road mayhem. What was once an idea to overcome the impossible, Ultra 4 has emerged from blood, sweat, and destruction. Man and machine, thriving in an environment others dare to enter. Adaptation, survival, spawned from necessity. Tens of thousands have gathered in Hammertown to witness the speed, the power, the carnage, and ultimately history, as the world's best off-road drivers go to battle to see who will become King of the Hammers. For only the second time in history, T1 Racing has come to King of the Hammers.
Over a year ago, Dave Cole gave me a call, and I've been fortunate enough to have a good conversation with him and become friends with him. But over a year and a half ago, he called me and he said, "Hey, what do you think about bringing the trucks out here and running them?" And I'm like, "That'd be awesome, coming out here with all the Ultra 4 guys." He said, "What do you think the T1 guys are going to think when they bring their trucks out?" I go, "They're going to be blown away. When they see what actually happens and what you're going to put us through, I think they're going to be amazed."
The Toyo Tires Desert Invitational, presented by Monster Energy, will feature 30 elite off-road desert racers in an invitation-only open desert off-road truck race in the trails of Johnson Valley. Trails these trucks are not used to racing.
The King of the Hammers race for T1 is very interesting. It's pretty cool actually because it's only T1 trucks. So there's a handful of sections on this course that really, as far as desert racing goes, pretty much only the T1 trucks could go through. Some of the rocks and some of the mountain climbs and hill climbs, and only being T1 trucks, they were really able to make the terrain quite a bit tougher and something that puts these trucks on edge, whereas the other race courses are a little bit quicker, a little bit less technical compared to this.
This race is a grueling 300 miles and is every bit mental as it is physical. On the line, 100,000 winner-take-all prize money and bragging rights to one of the most challenging races on the planet.
Love it out here. King of the Hammers put on a great event. The course is definitely different than what we're used to. It's very challenging, a lot of uphills, a lot of G-outs, a lot more rocks than we're used to. So it's a good course for all of us. It's challenging. It makes us drivers have to work that much harder to go win this race.
T1 is considered the Formula One of desert racing. The trucks are blistering fast and are driven by big names. Guys like Bryce Menzies, BJ Baldwin, the Serapis brothers, Andy McMillan, and Cameron Steele.
Well, really in the T1 race, you pretty much have the heavy hitters, the guys that are being the most successful. If you look back in the last 5 years of all the people that have won truck races, that most of them are here. Obviously, Andy McMillan's been very strong lately. Bryce Menzies got a new truck here. Serapis boys are young up-and-comers. And, there's just a lot of people. The fastest guys are here, and the people that have winning lately are here as well.
Well, I think King of the Hammers is just a unique place to be in general. I think this is a different audience that don't really get to see the trophy trucks race at speed unless you go down to Baja. And I think being that this is kind of an invitational race, you kind of get the best of the best guys coming here to compete. It's a very, very challenging course, which makes it even more unique and add to our schedule of races. And, a lot of rocks, a lot of high speed, a lot of gotchas, so we got to be careful out there, but I think this all-wheel drive is going to be really, really fast out there.
T1 truck design is ever evolving. In the past, two-wheel drive platforms have been dominant. They can be loose and unpredictable in rough terrain, but are undeniably fast. Drivers learn to feather the throttle and feel for traction when racing two-wheel drive trucks.
The thing that the two-wheel drive has on its side is the reliability. They're the most proven trucks, so as they have issues or flat tires and stuff, we're just going to keep moving, and that's usually the guy that wins it is the guy that keeps moving all day. That's what it's all about.
Recently, a shift in experimentation and design has introduced new four-wheel drive vehicles into the mix.
4 Mason all-wheel drive trucks at this race. Myself, my cousin Andy, Bryce Menzies, and Christian and Brett Serapis.
The four-wheel drive trucks will have the advantage when the elevation changes. But the question is, do they have the speed to keep up with the two-wheel drives in the desert?
I think one of those four-wheel drives is going to take it, and if it's not going to be a four-wheel drive, it's going to be my brother Luke in the 83.
This year's race features brand new all-wheel drive Mason-built trucks competing in a race that traditionally featured two-wheel drive vehicles. And if successful out here today, could be a game changer in off-road truck racing. When we return, we meet some of the competitors at the Toyo Tires Desert Invitational, presented by Monster Energy. Welcome back to the 2020 Toyo Tires Desert Invitational, presented by Monster Energy, part of King of the Hammers on World of X Games. It's T1 Day, and 30 of the world's best T1 drivers have assembled in Johnson Valley, California, to qualify for the main event.
These guys, it's really tough for them because they've got to get out there. Do they go absolutely flat out, or do they be a little bit careful with their lap so they make sure they get their car back here, get it set up, get it well positioned so they can get out on the main race?
Qualifying is a 20-mile loop and determines who will go off the line first in the main event.
You know, it's going to be exciting. We're going to see how these guys set the pace and set themselves up for the race.
Man, we felt really good this morning. The truck was solid. We went out and did a little testing yesterday. It felt great. We had a good feeling about it. We knew it was going to be a long day, so we thought we'd just take it. You know, we're going to go fast, but we just want to make sure that we had a good truck for the rest of the day. It was a really technical, rough course. So we figured, you know, we just need to really take care of it and have a good truck for the long haul.
Every driver wants to be consistent. They want to be smooth, and no one wants a flat. The T1 qualifiers take off every 2 minutes. Andy McMillan, widely considered the best T1 driver in the world right now, is first to start.
But we got 4 solid pre-run laps in. We're ready to go. We got our notes down, and yeah, we're ready to tackle the race and try and go in this thing.
Andy McMillan blazing off the line, and here we go. We're live.
Andy is driving a new mid-engine Mason-built all-wheel drive truck, boasting 1,000 horsepower and a X-Track transmission. Rob McCachran has had some troubles in the past couple years, but is hoping his two-wheel drive truck can handle Johnson Valley better than the new four-wheel drive trucks out here.
The most successful desert racer of all time, possibly leaving the line in a two-wheel drive truck.
2 more McMillans, Luke and Dan, are off the line next. Luke, the event's defending champion, is driving the two-wheel drive Ford that won him the race last year.
Great race last year, obviously really good for us, we won it, so I feel confident just like last year. I really like the terrain out here, so it's a lot of open desert stuff, and then it goes straight into technical, you know, not too many connecting graded roads, and a lot of the other terrain we see in Mexico, so this open desert and technical really suits my driving, so I'm excited for it.
Bryce Menzies, in a brand new Mason-built truck, tested for the first time last week, is racing his second all-wheel drive truck.
Just listen to that roar. Once again, cuts across the course into the first turn as he heads out of town onto the 20-mile prologue loop here at the T1 Toyo Desert Invitational, powered by Monster Energy.
Right off the bat, it gets super rocky and gnarly, so we kind of tried to just take it a little easy so we didn't get any flats or have any problems. And in the back section, it gets big whoops, high-speed road, so long day, lots of rocks, gnarly course. So I just want to be smart at the beginning, and then we'll push to the end.
Back at the starting line, Cameron Steele has discovered water in his cylinders and has opted to sit qualifying out to work on his truck.
I don't know what happened. There's questions whether our radiator froze or not, but I believe we have the truck in temperature control at a house. Maybe water pump, maybe, who knows? I don't know. Yeah, no qualifying back of the pack.
He's hoping he'll be ready for the main event, where he'll start at the back of the pack.
Brett Serappa's now off the line, and once again he cuts that corner as he makes his way out of Hammertown.
And this is the truck that has the new Mason-Matic in it. So this is the first time this transmission has ever raced. It's do or die on this. If this vehicle lives with this particular transmission, it literally changes our sport.
Incredible as we watch Brett Serappa's getting after it. Now here's a man who knows everything about rough courses. This is Justin Lofton. He's won at the Mint 400, and the Mint 400 is one of the roughest courses there is. He's won it 3 times, which is incredible. So Justin will really fancy his chances here.
Eric Husted, BJ Baldwin, Robert Picoy, and Raul Gomez hit the course next, with Gomez driving Cameron Steele's Baja 1000 winning 2-wheel drive truck. BJ Baldwin goes ballistic in qualifying, not holding back and showing everyone why he's one of the toughest guys to beat in the desert. Baldwin catches Eric Husted in the desert, then opts for an alternate line to get around Husted so he doesn't have to chase in Husted's dust.
Bryce Minzy is your leader now with a 16.19 versus a 16.57. So Bryce Minzy threw it down and at this point is leading the T1 track.
Luke and Dan McMillan follow a full minute behind Andy McMillan.
We had a good run though. It was conservative. The race time hasn't started yet, so there's really no reason to send it.
It was actually a really good prologue run. I felt a little bit like my top speed wasn't there on the big straightaway in the back. And then we got back and found that we actually, a cylinder had popped out, a spark plug had popped out about a mile into my run. And yeah, we're just gonna, got a good truck on for the race, and we're gonna see if we can win this thing.
A bit of drama goes down behind the McMillans as BJ Baldwin gets off trail coming into the Ford Arch. Eric Husted has some navigational issues hurting his qualifying time. Then disaster strikes for Nick Nelson as his truck steps out on him coming around a corner.
And all of a sudden we came around a corner on the gas heading down a hill, and the truck took a hard 90 right. I had no way to steer, so something let go mechanically between me and that, and tried to spin the truck out just to stop it before it got away. And we were doing probably 90 miles an hour, and it just dug in and started barrel rolling. And as soon as we stopped moving, he's like, I'm good. So jumped out, gave the helicopter thumbs up. And I'm just happy my co-driver's safe. I built the truck, and my worst fear is somebody getting hurt in the truck that I built.
So he's a builder and a racer. Of all the people out here, we want to see him get to the finish line, so yeah, it's a real bummer.
Obviously, Nick Nelson is hugely popular in the 4400 family. Hoping to get it sorted, and I hope there's not too much damage.
The qualifying loop is it's very technical. There's some tight stuff and there's some fast stuff. There was Lofton had issues. Cameron doesn't look like he made the start of the qualifying loop. So everybody's going for that $100,000. It's awesome. That kind of purse money. Everybody's going for it. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the race.
Our starting lineup is set for the 2020 Toyo Tires Desert Invitational, presented by Monster Energy. This episode of World of X Games is brought to you by Toyo Tires. Monster Energy, Optima batteries, and Steal It. Welcome back to the 2020 Toyo Tires Desert Invitational, presented by Monster Energy, part of King of the Hammers on World of X Games. Several other exciting events went down during King of the Hammers week out in Johnson Valley, California. King of the Motos, which some have referred to as the most difficult moto enduro race in the country. Followed by a nighttime shootout.
This is a very unique venue, and to make it part of King of Hammers is awesome because, I mean, King of Hammers is huge, and to be on that stage here in the US is totally rad. We don't get that opportunity ever, so it's cool to be teamed up with King of Hammers and have Dave Cole's, permission, and I'm glad they brought it back.
It's wild. It's super wild, but it's fun. It's like a cool atmosphere when you get here. You like get pumped up to be out in the desert and have like all these motorsports around you and to be able to ride some of this stuff too on our dirt bikes. I feel like it's kind of cool that they invite us and share the King of Hammers a little bit.
Over 100 motorcycle riders from around the world tested their skills on the hammer trails in the 2020 Progressive King of the Motos. In the mix were amateur riders, a women's class, and 26 professional off-road racers.
Really excited with the pro class, how it shaped up. And I'm even more excited that we got all the support from all the amateurs to come out and race it again. We have over 100 entries, and I'm just living off of everybody else's excitement to come race it. So we brought the women's class into it for two reasons. One, I've seen these women out here push themselves and finish and just not get the same recognition. And so I wanted to really celebrate the fact that they're out here doing everything that we're doing, and they push and suffer just as hard as we do. And I think by giving them their class, I hope a few more come out and show up.
Welcome back, world, to Johnson Valley, to the Progressive King of the Motos. I am Ricky Johnson, next to Dave Broseph. Dave, it is going to be one heck of a day. 3, 2, get ready for the start. It's a dead engine.
The race consists of 3 laps, the bronze, silver, and gold laps. If you do not cross the finish line after each lap within a certain time, you do not move on. The fastest competitors race the gold lap for the opportunity to become king of the motos.
I'm totally afraid of the hard enduros, but I'm getting older and stronger and realizing that, there's more to the challenge, and there's, for growing as a person, challenging yourself, pushing yourself beyond what you think you're capable of, and that's what these are about.
Riders in the event do not get support from a team, but they are allowed to help one another. If there's a mechanical issue on course, they must fix it themselves. Penalties are given if riders take shortcuts, avoid obstacles, miss checkpoints, or fail to record their track.
The biggest thing here at King of Motos is using the GPS, but the big thing about GPSing in the desert is it's super difficult because you can go anywhere you want in the desert, right? So it's very hard to follow like a breadcrumb trail in the desert because you could be 100 feet over and not be on it.
Racing on an unmarked course designed by Justin Leinweiber, competitors navigated by onboard GPS alone through some very famous hammer trails like Jackhammer, Sledgehammer, and Chocolate Thunder. After 2 laps, only 4 pro riders would enter the Gold Loop. Manuel Lettenbichler, Colton Haker, Tristan Hart, and Cody Webb. Cody a 4-time King of the Moto champion, had been recovering from a knee injury, and this race marked his first time back in competition.
The leg's definitely not 100% still. I'm about almost 8 months out of surgery right now, and doctor says 12 to 15 months where I will be 100%.
Red Bull factory KTM rider Manuel Lettenbichler started today's race in the lead and held it for 2 whole laps. Manuel, an experienced rock climber, was nervous about this race.
You know, it's first time out there in the desert, so I was, I had more respect than normal, I would say, like before this race.
Beginning the gold lap today, he looked to be running away with a victory, until a GPS error led him off course. Manuel ended up missing the step-up waterfall section in backdoor and was penalized a whole hour, dropping him back into 4th position. Rockstar Energy Husqvarna factory team rider Colton Haker made the same mistake shortly after, taking the same penalty as Manuel, moving him into 4th place and Manuel into 3rd. This opened the door for Cody Webb to grab the lead, ahead of Canadian KTM rider Tristan Hart.
It's honestly a confidence booster. Obviously I want to win when I come down here, but I knew I'm not as fully prepared as some of the other riders coming into the season, and I'm just honestly thrilled that I just never give up and kept pushing through it.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, your 2020 Progressive Insurance King of the Moto champion, Cody Webb. Let's hear it.
When the sun went down, thousands of fans congregated around bonfires and lit up vehicles for the Holley EFi Shootout, presented by King Shocks and Action Sports Canopies. This nighttime event was held adjacent to Chocolate Thunder this year. Ultra 4 vehicles, rock bouncers, buggies, and home-built rock crawlers all battled it out to be the fastest up a series of steep and loose rock ledges. 29 competitors signed up to test their skills and put on a show for the spectators. And over half the field didn't make it to the top of the course at all, a testament to the difficulty of this trail. These vehicles need big tires, lots of horsepower, multiple attempts, and a whole lot of bravado, but when they ultimately make it, the fans go nuts. Add in music, lights, fire, and passion, and this event becomes the ultimate nighttime rock crawling party. Luke Wilson, driving his bouncer called Rock Candy, made the climb in 60 seconds for a 3rd place finish. Josh Parrish, driving an Outlaw chassis with tractor tires in the rear, skipped his way up the most difficult part of the course, climbing the trail in 49 seconds for 2nd place. Steven Rogers, in his Jimmy Smith-built buggy called Unloyal, got up on 2 wheels at the start, then pinned it to the top in a mind-melting 39 seconds for the win.
Looked at the hill, bounced, got a bad bounce, just thought of holding it to the floor, and it just worked out. Went out the top, perfect. It is probably the best race I've ever had.
Still to come, it's lap 1 of the 300-mile Toyo Tires Desert Invitational, presented by Monster Energy. Who will grab an early lead? And who will fall victim to the grueling Hammers course? Welcome back to the 2020 Toyo Tires Desert Invitational, presented by Monster Energy, part of King of the Hammers on World of X Games.
King of Hammers is one of these only races that I think a lot of people that have raced other races in knows one of the hardest races out there, and it's competitive and it's tough, and it takes the right mindset and the right equipment to get this race done.
10 trucks have qualified for this T1 final here in Johnson Valley, California. On the line, a $100,000 winner-take-all purse, the largest cash prize in T1 racing. Last year's champion, Luke McMillan, driving a two-wheel drive vehicle, has found himself surrounded by family in four-wheel drive trucks.
Sounds like I'm sandwiched between my cousin and my brother, so that'll be interesting. That's definitely, we all want to beat each other, but at the end of the day, if a McMillan can win, I want to see the McMillan name on top. So.
Now, this race is a 300-mile race. There's 3 laps out there today. Strategy is going to play a massive part in this. It is a gnarly course. Now, for the people who are looking at home, these tyres are 40 inches tall and they weigh something close to, 150 pounds? So it takes a really fit guy a lot of time to get these tyres off. But they've got a secret weapon on most of these cars, haven't they?
Yes, they do. Mason's not the one that created it, but they've done a really good job with the hydraulic jack.
They can also fuel these trucks with 60 gallons of pressurized fuel in under 30 seconds. As the T1 finalists line up for the race, they will be starting in 2-minute increments. There's not much wind today, so hanging dust on the course will be a factor and force more technical driving rather than all-out speed.
It's a good competition out here. We got the best of the best, and ready to go see if we can win this thing.
Last year at the King of the Hammers Toyo Tire Invitational, Bryce and I came out. We qualified first. We were very confident going into that race, and unfortunately we had a brake issue that took us out on the second lap. So we've had this redemption run in mind that we wanted to come out here and try and lay it down again.
The 2-minute staggered starts will help these drivers a bit with the dust, and no one will get the advantage more than Bryce Menzies, who's first to take off out of Hammertown.
We are live on course at the Toyo T1 Desert Invitational, powered by Monster Energy, and that is our pole setter. That is Bryce Menzies powering off the line and heading out into Johnson Valley.
Our top qualifier is driving a brand new Mason-built four-wheel drive truck. Bryce likes being the pole setter. He can dictate the pace. He doesn't like to chase. And he wants to stay out front for the clean air. Behind Bryce are 3 McMillans. Andy is second off the line, followed by Luke McMillan, then Dan.
Dan is one of these guys that I think is a sleeper. He could definitely win this race. He's finished top 5 quite frequently.
Fuel consumption out here today will play a factor in pit strategy. As fuel burns, the trucks get more lively and the weight moves to the front of the vehicle. The teams out here will definitely be monitoring their trucks' performances and planning their fuel stops based on terrain. Cameron Steele, the 2018 Baja 1000 champion, missed qualifying due to mechanical issues, but has made the start here in the main event. Because he missed the prologue, Cameron now has to warm up the truck and shake off any pre-event nerves. Bryce Menzies and Andy McMillan are through remote pit number 1, and both opt not to stop. Both drivers have worked out their nerves in qualifying. They have settled into this race and are on blistering paces. With Bryce leading by 1 minute and mile 40, Andy McMillan is in second, followed by Luke McMillan 1 minute 15 seconds back. The big question is, can all these drivers focus 100% for 300 miles, a very long distance? Further back, a battle goes down as Raul Gomez catches BJ Baldwin in the desert. Baldwin may have made a mistake and gotten off track. Now it's BJ Baldwin trying to find alternate lines to stay out of Gomez's dust. Gomez drove in the UTV race earlier in the week and was able to pre-run today's T1 course.
I've got over about 1,000 miles of pre-running here this week. I started pre-running last Wednesday. I pre-ran the UTV course, the U4 course, and the T1 race course, so there's my game plan.
But look at this, the wind favors BJ as he comes round the corner. Raul Gomez doesn't know it, but he really needs to be in that left lane, and BJ is coming alongside him now. This is fantastic stuff.
Bryce Menzies and Andy McMillan return through pit 1 and decide not to pit. Behind him, Luke McMillan comes into pit 1, and his crew performs a rear tire change in an unbelievable 24 seconds. In the open desert on the way back into Hammertown, the trucks are wide open. T1s are meant to go fast for extended periods of time, and in these open lake beds, these trucks let loose.
These trucks will run close to, some of them up to 150 miles an hour. I know it sounds kind of ridiculous, but where you're just holding it wide open.
The leaders climb aftershock. They are trying not to blow a tire or gouge the sidewall in the loose rocks. The race has tightened up a bit as Andy McMillan on corrected time has caught Bryce Menzies and holds a 43-second lead. Bryce pits in Hammertown and has a quick tire change.
So I've got visual on Bryce Menzies, number 7, all over the throttle on that four-wheel drive, and he is coming into the pits. Bryce Menzies, Orrin Anderson, I believe they're roughly 43 seconds behind Andy McMillan on corrected time. Look how fast these guys, these are true professionals. So a great Toyo Tires pit stop by Bryce Menzies. So now we'll have Andy McMillan.
Andy shockingly pits in the wrong location. His crew sprints over to him, but Andy will not have time to fuel up. He's lost 23 seconds in the confusion and takes off after Bryce with a 20-second lead. When we return, it's lap 2 of the Toyo Tires Desert Invitational, presented by Monster Energy. Can Andy McMillan hold on to his short lead, or will the leaderboard change once again? This episode of World of X Games is brought to you by Toyo Tires, Monster Energy, Optima Batteries, and the Fab School. Welcome back to the 2020 Toyo Tires Desert Invitational, presented by Monster Energy, part of King of the Hammers on World of X Games.
On corrected time, Andy McMillan has a 20-second lead. He's still a minute and 40 seconds behind Bryce Menzies, so he's not in his dust, but when it comes to it, he's leading the race on corrected time.
A pack of trucks including Luke McMillan, Dan McMillan, Robert Picoy, and Brett Serapis all cruise through Hammertown, while Bryce Menzies, the physical race leader, blows through pit 1. And after 100 miles of racing, only 15 seconds separates our two leaders, Bryce Menzies and Andy McMillan. Robert Picoy has made the move into 5th place on corrected time and now has Brett Serapis in sight, hoping to make a physical pass. Halfway through lap number 2, the winds in the open desert have picked up a bit, which is good news for the competitors as dust won't hang on the course. Bryce Menzies flies through Cougar Buttes, trying to make up a little time on Andy McMillan. Kevin Thompson and Raul Gomez battle in the rocks through some heavy elevation changes. Interesting to note is how unique and varied the terrain is in Johnson Valley. These T1 drivers are used to racing in Baja or Parker, Arizona, but no race has so much different terrain and elevation changes like King of the Hammers.
Yeah, the hill climbs, again, the rocks, it was brutal. And when I say brutal, it's different than the other race courses where they get torn up from pre-running and then we do one lap and you go through it. But every lap we'd come through, the rocks were moved more in the road, the roads would get more square edge, so it was a really rough course.
Andy McMillan runs into trouble in the middle of lap number 2, actually rolling his vehicle. He's out of the truck and okay at mile 53.
Wow. Andy McMillan, and he's going full turtle out there on the course.
Wow.
Bryce Menzies takes over the lead both physically and on corrected time. There's still a lot of race left, and Bryce has to stay focused and not let race fatigue set in. Raul Gomez, Kevin Thompson, and Cameron Steele are evenly spaced through Cougar Buttes. Raul has been doing his best for the past half hour to not let Kevin Thompson pass him, and Cameron Steele is making up ground on both drivers. Raul Gomez made his debut in T1 racing last year at King of the Hammers, and is having a great race here today.
For the T1, I mean, I just raced down in Mexico. It was some rock sections here. Same thing. You just got to be very careful. There's some fast sections as well, but it's going to be technical, but make it challenging.
We got Brett and Christian Serapis doing a driver change. The front tires look good, so they're keeping that in. I'm pretty sure that Drew Becerra is going to stay with for all 3 laps. But right now, we have Christian Serapis, who's a standout athlete, a runner for USC, and one heck of an athlete.
Robert Picoy continues to run strong, looking for a podium finish here today. He started 2 minutes behind Brett Serapis and is now just 30 seconds behind, moving himself into 3rd place behind Bryce Menzies and Luke McMillan.
Bobby's been putting in a great run all day long. Didn't qualify in the prologue, but I think he was probably saving his vehicle a little bit, but Bobby's been going faster and faster.
Picoy comes into pit, and the Desert Assassins crew discovers some cooling issues with the truck.
Bobby Picoy had his helmet off. They had something looking under the hood. They made a change. They looked like they're pouring some water into it. It looked like maybe getting a little bit hot.
BJ Baldwin has passed Raul Gomez and Kevin Thompson and is now in the podium hunt. Meanwhile, Bryce Menzies continues to push hard, 130 miles per hour across the lake bed.
This is Bryce Menzies, our race leader, dominating this race from the front.
He is roughly 6 minutes ahead of Luke McMillan on corrected time and is not holding back.
And he's got clear air in front of him as he comes round and not very far off from completing lap 2.
Menzies stops for 4 new tires and fuel and gets in and out of Hammertown in under 2 minutes for his final lap. When we return, it's all or nothing here at the 2020 Toyo Tires Desert Invitational, presented by Monster Energy. Can Bryce Menzies continue his flawless run to the top of the podium? Or will King of the Hammers claim another victim? Welcome back to the 2020 Toyo Tires Desert Invitational, presented by Monster Energy, part of King of the Hammers on World of X Games. 7 out of 10 trucks are still in today's competition as we enter lap 3. Bryce Menzies, Luke McMillan, Brett Serapis, Dan McMillan, BJ Baldwin, Kevin Thompson, and and Raul Gomez are still in the hunt as we approach the 5-hour mark.
So Raul's doing real good right now. He's driving smooth. He's just trying to drive a smart race, so he's got no flats. He's doing fantastic, holding a good pace.
Unfortunately, a group of competitors including McCachran, Picoy, Steele, and Curry have bowed out due to mechanical issues. What's impossible to convey is the sheer number of obstacles these racers encounter at King of the Hammers. Throughout the entire race, co-drivers will call out over 1,000 marks on the GPS, a number that screams focus, confidence, and skill.
Yeah, as a co-driver in a race that's this harsh and technical, pretty much head down staring at the GPS, try and keep Bryce with enough information that he can keep the pace wherever he wants it and not make any mistakes.
Drivers also need patience, as it can be frustrating to go from 150 miles per hour in the desert to just 5 or 10 miles per hour in the rocks.
This course in particular is so challenging because all the rocks, that's usually stuff that we don't see too much in the big desert races. So, you know, you got to be smart, pick your way through that, and then you can open it up in the desert.
So we've got Luke McMillan in here in the pits. They're putting one tire on the back. He doesn't have a flat tire on the vehicle. He's just missing one of his spares. So they're throwing a spare out so he can head out on his third and final 100-mile loop.
Luke McMillan's strategy now is to not get too aggressive. He needs to have a flawless lap and see what happens with Bryce Menzies in lap 3. Andy McMillan, after rolling his truck earlier in the day, has arrived in Hammertown. The crew checks over the vehicle and will call it a day after the unfortunate incident took Andy out of the hunt. BJ Baldwin has worked his way up into 4th place now. He'll stop in remote pit 1, grab 2 tires, and get on his way with a lightning fast pit stop. Three laps into this race, the course is changing as every truck digs a little bit deeper track. Drivers are now being forced to either drive the 2-track grooves or find their way across the dirt. Raul Gomez was having an amazing race until he unfortunately busted a shock, taking him out of podium contention.
Oh, that's terrible to see. He's doing such a great job today. But you know, this course is going to take its toll. We can build things and theorize and do all this stuff, but until you throw it into the fray and you're actually in the warfare of racing, you don't know what's going to happen.
Concentration in lap 3 is everything. These drivers have to be panning and scanning 4 lengths ahead to see what's coming and how the track is evolving.
You take a break for 1 second and you're getting a right flat or a double flat, so it's just that harsh out there.
An epic battle is now developed between Christian Serapis and BJ Baldwin. Only 14 seconds separated these 2 drivers after pit number 1. Now Baldwin is 1 second behind Serapis in a fight to the finish. Baldwin knows how to pick up time in the desert. He has amazing car control and will undoubtedly push his vehicle to its limit. Christian is still young and learning just how hard he can push. But is he confident enough to hold off ballistic BJ Baldwin? Bryce Menzies continues to drive flawless. His truck's experiencing no issues. Luke McMillan opts not to pit and is back out in the desert chasing Menzies.
Yeah, and as Bryce Menzies powers his way across the Emerson Lake bed for the final time, we look out of our booth here and the crowd is starting to build in Hammertown.
Almost 8 minutes ahead of his nearest competitor, Bryce Menzies is the first one across the T1 finish line, grabbing $100,000 and the prestigious King of the Hammers title.
Winning King of the Hammers to us, it means a ton. This is a super challenging race. These are the best drivers in the world that show up for this one.
So my hat's off to Toyo Tires for making an unreal tire to get through this stuff. And Dave Cole, King of the Hammers, thank you guys for putting this event on. It's unreal. 100 grand, baby, 100 grand.
Last year's champion, Luke McMillan, driving a two-wheel drive vehicle, is second back into Hammertown and finishes second place on corrected time, 6 minutes and 36 seconds behind Bryce Menzies.
Yeah, we had a really good day. You know, we had the mindset we were really fast last year, so we were going to run our race. You know, we came out and put in the homework. We did a lot of pre-running. You know, of course, we would have liked to win it like we did last year, but 2 years in a row we're on the podium, which is really cool. So I'm really happy. We had a good day. Truck ran good. Team did an awesome job. So we'll definitely be racking in some wins this year.
Rounding out the podium in third place and overtaking multiple drivers here today is Ballistic BJ Baldwin.
I think we did pretty good. We're on the box. I mean, that's better than all of last year. I had transmission trouble all of last year, so we're finally starting to take some steps in the right direction, and I'm excited about the result.
Congratulations to the T1 podium and all the finishers out here today. That's a wrap on the 2020 Toyo Tires Desert Invitational, presented by Monster Energy, part of King of the Hammers in Johnson Valley, California. Be sure to tune in next time. Nearly 100 Ultra 4 vehicles will battle head-to-head to find out who will become this year's King of the Hammers.